Morning everyone, Anthony from Showcase, and I wanted to give you a no BS step-by-step guide to getting your website ready for GDPR in a actionable, followable format with explanations. So this might be a little bit longer than a normal Facebook Live that I do, but I'm going to try and do it in sections, and I will recycle those sections and make those available to people on our website. So the reason I'm doing this is I'm still getting asked, with 4.5 weeks to go, I'm still getting asked what I need to do, and then when I tell people, they ask, well, why? And without being a bit blunt about it, you know, the information has been around for the last year at least, probably the last 2 years, and I know people are getting bored of me talking about GDPR and explaining it, so I wanted to give you a definitive walkthrough and explanation at the same time. So there's anybody else asks me, it's all here and really helping people out. So I'm going to do it in sections. So I'm going to start off with the first thing you should do that will give you the biggest bang for your buck for GDPR is improve or install a cookie banner on your website. So previously there was an attempt by the ICO to enforce cookie banners, and that all fell to pieces because they removed it from their own website and everybody just laughed. This new GDPR implementation means that you need a good cookie banner, not one that just says, by continuing to use this website you agree to our use of cookies. Okay, that doesn't give people enough information on what cookies are used, what they do, and also it doesn't give them the ability to opt out of using those cookies other than to not use your website. The cookie banner that we use is now GDPR compliant in terms of it gives each user a breakdown of every single cookie, all the details about what they do, how long they last for, what type of cookie they are, whether it's from the website or from a third-party website, and it gives every user the opportunity to opt out of those cookies. So when we're doing the install, or when you're doing the install, you will need to set up the code so that it basically says if somebody declines any statistical cookies, then no information to do with statistics is transmitted from that website to wherever that cookie sends information to. So typical cookie banners that people have been using do not provide that functionality and therefore are inadequate for GDPR. So that's why we need to recommend using a different cookie banner. So whether or not you want to use the one that we use, which is from Cookiebot, or you want to find your own solution, that's what you need to achieve. Is if somebody declines a particular type of cookie use, then they should be turned off instantly on that website. So I say we use the Cookiebot banner. Now we install that for our clients. There's an extra cost for that, but we don't charge any extra for doing that. In terms of if you went to Cookiebot direct, we charge the same price. So there's no detrimental effect for going through your web developer or through us. Second of all, the biggest hurdle really for businesses is the documentation side of things. The GDPR specifies that you need to have a privacy policy and a cookie policy. These are mandatory documents now. And whilst both documents have been recommended for a long time, obviously they're now becoming mandatory, and also the GDPR is there to dissuade people from using templated, boring, non-specific, vague documentation. So they're recommending and enforcing that you need to really go through your website top to bottom and understand what is going on with users' information. So the users we're going to call data subjects, because that's what they're called in the eyes of the law, and it's basically you and I, people that use the website. The things that these people need to know are what information is collected, where it's going, how long it's stored, who has access, who do I contact if I want to know what you know about me, what are my rights, and anything else pertinent to the processing and storage of that information. Now, I've seen privacy policies that are an A4 page long being signed off as GDPR compliant. That's absolutely inadequate. The one that we use is about 26 pages long, and it's there because it covers off every eventuality to do with information processing on your website. So that will make sure that it's thorough and personal. It will make sure that all the information is clear and concise as well. So one of the things that GDPR specifies as well is that the documentation needs to be in plain English, not convoluted, and well structured so that people can easily find the information that they need. So we have created, or a colleague, a friend, a business associate has created a industry-leading website template document pack, which we are promoting because it's ticks all the boxes basically for GDPR. And whilst it is a template, it's a template insofar as it's structured, but you have to fill in all the details specific to your business and tailor the document. So that is probably the most difficult part of GDPR, is working through the documentation for your website. As well as your privacy policy, you also need a cookies policy. So cookies is a big area of GDPR because, as you've probably seen in the news, Facebook and Google have all been using cookies with or without people's consent, and in the eyes of the law, they're basically stealing people's information and not giving people the right to be informed about make informed consent on what information is shared and why. So the cookie policy is now mandatory, and it needs to be up to spec in terms of all of the cookies that are used on your website need to be explained in clear English, what they do. You have to provide people the information on how to opt out of the use of each cookie. And also you need to work out a way that people can change their preferences as well. So if somebody comes on your site, they accidentally press OK to everything, then they're like, oh, actually, I don't want to share my marketing data. I don't want to be remarketed to, or I don't want my statistics and my behavioural patterns on your website to be tracked. So I need to change my preferences. What do I do? They should be able to go to the cookies policy and find a link to be able to, and the GDPR says they need to be able to opt out in just as easy a manner as they opted in. So that's a huge stipulation, and one which people are going to find their own ways to manage. What we tend to do is, because we have the cookie banner, people can opt in on the cookie banner, they go find the change preferences link, and it reopens the cookie banner, they can change their preferences and then press OK. That's just as easy as they opted in. I've got a huge load of notes here to go through, so I'm just working through here. As well as your cookie policy, you will need terms of sale. If you're selling products via your website, you need terms of sale. So that basically stipulates what the products are, whether there's any limitations on where you can ship it to, how people can use it, what they can expect, yada yada yada, all the details about your products and services that are available via your website. Again, terms of sale have been recommended for a long time, and now they're becoming more important, so you should now jump on and get some terms of sale sorted. You also need to update your contact forms as well. So contact forms at the moment are a bit of a grey area. You can pretty much do what you want, and big marketing companies make you fill out contact forms that ask a load of superfluous information about you and your business for marketing purposes, so they can then contact you with future marketing, etc. Now that's going to be not outlawed, but certainly made more difficult, because your contact form now need to stipulate whether you opt in to marketing, and also specifically what type of marketing. So if you want somebody to contact you on your website, you need to add in a consent box that basically says, I agree to future marketing and that would be, I would like to receive your newsletter but not offers, for instance. So, you know, newsletter has a different content than your special offers and marketing materials, whereas a newsletter is general updates and that kind of stuff. So you need to give people granular consent to opt into those particular items. And again, they also need just as easy a method to opt out again. So you need to update your contact forms, add another page onto your website, potentially, which is what we've been doing, called contact preferences, and it allows people just to change what their preferences are. So one of the other big questions that we get asked all the time is, what do I do with my existing data? You know, I've got a big mailing list of 300,000 records. Can I email them and just say, do you want to opt into my stuff post GDPR? Well, no. If you watched my interview with Henry, who's a GDPR specialist, a few weeks ago, we were talking about this, but I'm just adding it into my workflow for you guys today to follow. Basically, you need to understand where that data came from. If you have a legitimate reason to hold that data and to be able to market to that data, then you can continue to do so. What that would mean is you've had a conversation with somebody and you said, can I keep you informed about products and future services, that kind of stuff. If they then say yes, then you can keep that data. You can probably, to be prudent, you would email them again and say, are you still happy to receive my marketing communications? If you have a client, then you have a legitimate interest in having their details, but not necessarily to market to them. So what I would do is send them an email and ask them to opt back into marketing, just to double confirm their preferences, because they might be a client, but they might not want to hear about our future services and other services that you offer. So you can mail those and you'll probably be absolutely fine on a legitimate interest basis. If you've got random people that you've never met, or that you go to a networking meeting and you get given a big list of the attendees but you didn't speak to half of them, I would err on the side of caution and delete those records, because you haven't had the conversation with them, can I market to you? They've not even explicitly given you the right to hold their data. So I would just get rid of it, personally. I know that some businesses, they're built on having a huge mailing list and direct mailing them out and just using attrition and playing a numbers game to generate business, but you're gonna get pinged by GDPR. Just clean your database, make sure that you're only marketing to people who are actually genuinely interested in what you have to offer. That's the point of GDPR, and it's a great opportunity for businesses to actually improve who they're marketing to. If people are actually interested, they're going to be much more responsive to your emails, so your conversion rates are going to go up by default. So take the opportunity to clean your database. If you can't prove that people want to hear your marketing communications, again, get rid. We're speaking to Henry, and he said that Weatherspoons, the big pub chain, they couldn't prove how people had opted into their mailing list. They got rid of it, like millions of records, started again, because they're so worried about the GDPR penalties. Now, of course, they're a big business, totally get that, but just err on the side of caution. Protect yourselves, because GDPR, biggest penalties in history. So just err on the side of caution wherever possible. And just checking my notes here, so random people, never met. Again, people you're not sure about, whether you've met them but you can't remember if you had the conversation, or somebody else gave you that data. So if you are part of a networking organisation and somebody refers you to somebody but you never manage to get hold of them, you would think that you have a legitimate interest in keeping that data and marketing to them, but they themselves haven't genuinely opted in to your marketing. So just get rid of it. Okay, if you can't get hold of those people in a reasonable time frame, get rid of the information. Finally, your emails as well. So I tend to obviously specialise in the website side of things, and emails for me is on the verge of becoming a business process. But your emails are a store of lots of personal information as well, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't cleanse my emails, or I haven't been cleansing my emails as much as I should. So I've got emails going back, years in my inbox, which is a breach of GDPR. So we are working through, and what we're doing is you have to go through your emails and find any emails that contain what's deemed as personal or sensitive information. So that's information that can identify somebody or is sensitive in terms of access credentials, something that could give you a competitive advantage that you shouldn't now have, those kind of information. So you need to delete those if you don't have a legitimate interest in holding on to them. So if you've got clients that you've asked for their, hosting details or something, then you have a legitimate interest to keep hold of that, but you have to make sure they're stored appropriately. If you have somebody who's asked for a quote 5 years ago, they never went ahead with a quote, then you shouldn't have their contact details anymore. The legitimate interest has passed, so you need to delete that. What I would do going forward as well to future-proof your business is integrate your contact forms from your website with a CRM, a customer relationship management system. So something like Capsule CRM or HubSpot, which you can sync with your email. So email comes in, it goes into the CRM, and any emails are attached to your client record. That way you've got a central place where all the data for that client is stored. You could then comfortably delete all your emails every quarter, for instance, but you've got the record, it's all nicely sorted, and if they don't go ahead with a quote, or there's no real reason for you to keep hold of that information anymore, then you've got a create date, you've got segregation and filtering within the CRM, which you can use to then delete those people. So that's the easiest way to manage stuff going forward for your emails. And then obviously if you've got anything left over in your inbox where it's older than 3 months and you haven't got any reason to keep hold of that information, then just delete it. It's going to give you an opportunity to clear out your inbox and get back to inbox zero, as I like to call it. I've managed that twice in my career. Obviously it's going to be a third time before the 25th of May. So to summarise, what you'll be left with is a website where people that go to your website, first of all, they're presented with a cookie banner that says, we use these cookies, here's what they do, here's your opportunity to opt in and out. Okay? If they then want to change their mind, there should be a nice easy way for them to manage that. You'll have the relevant documentation on the website, which is your privacy policy, your cookie policy. If it's an e-commerce site or has any kind of online sales capability, then you'll have terms of use as well. Not terms of use, sorry, terms of sale. And then your contact forms will be integrated nicely with CRM, so you know that the data isn't going to random places. And once you've got your email sorted, what else was there? Obviously all the documentation and mailing list as well are up to date. So documentation, what information, where is it stored, how long for, who has access, what do I do if I want to change my preferences in terms of what you store about me, what are my rights, do you use that information to make decisions about me without my consent or knowledge, how do I opt out of that, what do I do if I'm under 18, yeah, children need to be considered in GDPR as well. So there's a lot to do, there is a process to doing it, you've got 4.5 weeks to get it done, go. No, I'm only kidding. It does need to be done though. 4.5 weeks is not a great deal of time. As you can imagine, GDPR professionals and web developers particularly are absolutely under the cosh at the moment because businesses are working hard to get themselves compliant. But, get in there quick, really is what I would say. Contact your web developer. Obviously, we can help if you would like us to. Just reach out via any of our contact methods. The Showcase web development website is GDPR compliant, so have a look at the level of detail for privacy policies, cookie policies, and contact forms, that kind of stuff as an example. If you can't do it yourself, obviously happy to help and advise if necessary, if you'd like that help. So that's it really. I think I've covered everything. Any questions, here to help. I'll give you the rest of your day. Bye for now.